Hi guys. So I realized I didn't do a video last week. Oh, sorry. Hope you can forgive me. But I am going to do a video this week. I noticed we have quite a few people that are obviously watching their diet, trying to eat very healthy, and a lot of that seems to involve limiting your carb intake because let's face it, nobody really wants to get diabetes. It would suck. Okay. So, in the spirit of the limiting your carbs and trying to make sure you get good ones, I'm going to walk you through a recipe that I'm about to make, which is for homemade jam using, I'm going to mispronounce this, and I don't care, chia seeds, whatever you call them, it makes you happy. Okay? So, here's what we got going on. We've got, let's see if I can get this positioned correctly. We've got some raspberries. Nom nom noms. Raspberries are awesome. And we've got the seeds we're going to need. We've also got some lime juice. Should add some lovely flavor. And some honey, because unless you are really sensitive to sugar, you're probably going to want a little bit of sweetness in it, but trust me, we're not going to be putting too much. So what I'm starting with is a half a pound of raspberries, hooray, that were on discount. And to that, I'm planning on adding, see if I can rotate so the light doesn't kill us. Planning on adding 2 tablespoons of honey and 1 tablespoon of the seeds. But first we're going to start out by cooking down the raspberries until they get down to that nice kind of mushy, syrupy texture. So I'm going to start doing that. It'll take about 10 minutes, and I really don't think you want to watch all 10 minutes. So I'll get back to you when I've got it cooked down to a nice consistency. Okay, so this actually took less than 10 minutes because I forgot I was dealing with raspberries who have an enormous amount of fluid. Hooray! Which is actually really good. So here's what we've got. And you can probably see it's mush. You try and spread that on your jam, it's not going to go very well. It's just going to run off the sides. But all this is cooked down raspberry, okay? I haven't added any water to this. This is just, all of this is natural fluid that's come out of the berries. So we've got this lovely kind of slurry thing happening here. Okay, but it's not quite jam yet. And also it has very little flavor at this point because it tastes just of raspberries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let's see if I can actually get it open here. And of course it's going to be difficult. 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to set you down a moment. Alright, apologies for the up close encounter with my countertop. I'm going to add a bit of lime juice, just to give it a bit of zip. So literally it's just going to be a few splashes. I'm not one of those people who's particularly fussed about measuring things. Okay, just enough to kind of give it a bit of zip. Okay, and then we're going to add some honey, noms. It says pure clear honey, but as you can tell it's going a little bit thick, but that shouldn't really matter for what we're doing, so long as it can squeeze forth into the jam. Which apparently is going to be a challenge. Oh, come now, don't be difficult. Of course it's going to be difficult. Right. If that fails, regular sugar. Okay? I know I'm cheating, but work with me here. Okay? So. Right. Regular sugar. Got my little half tablespoon ready because apparently my full tablespoon is dirty. This is what happens when my other half isn't here to wash dishes. Alright, so start with adding 1 tablespoon. Let's see what that does to our flavor. Okay, so we're just going to put that in, mix it up. Okay, and then we'll give it a wee taste. That actually tastes quite perfect to me. I think that is really nommy. Nom. Although, actually, lime juice coming through a bit strong, so we might put just another tablespoon of sugar in there. Now remember, this is all the sugar that's going into this entire pot of jam. Now, if you were making real jam, the traditional way, you would be putting in, like at least a cup of this instead of, 2 tablespoons. So, right, let's give that another wee taste. There we go. Perfect. Okay, So what we're going to do at this point is move it back onto the heat, which is still simmering away over here. So when I cook this up, basically, you're literally just cooking down the berries until they turn into mush. So have a solid spoon that you can, mash the berries around in, and it should take between 5 and 10 minutes. And then you just flavor to taste. So, sugar, honey, lemon juice, whatever floats your boat. Okay? And you will need to bring the berries to a boil, which is what they're doing right now. So, yay for bubbly berries. But do keep a close eye on it, because the last thing you want to do is to have them burn onto the bottom of the pan. That would just create lots of mess, and no one likes lots of mess. Okay, so what's next up? Next up is the seeds, okay? Seeds are very important. Now you may be wondering what the big kerfuffle is with these seeds, because no doubt you'll have heard people talking about them and, going, oh, they're awesome, and you may be going, but why? Okay, here's the reason why. They're really high in omega-3s, and they're really high in fiber. Plus, they're really quite handy for putting into things like this, because what happens when you cook them is that, let's see here, I'm just gonna maybe take this off the heat while I'm trying to do 3 things at once so that it doesn't burn. Whee! So, what they do is, when you cook them, for even the briefest amount of time, they produce kind of this gelatin-like coating, which can be exploited for all sorts of things, not just jam. Think also of, when you're making oatmeal or things like that, they can give you a really nice kind of gelled consistency. So there's half a tablespoon. And there's a whole tablespoon. So, okay. So there's those going in, and they're really handy for raspberry jam because you've already got seeds in it anyway, so you're not really going to notice. But yes, if you cook them, they will soak up roughly 10 times their own diameter in fluid, I can talk. So which is really handy for making jams and for using as a thickening agent when you really don't want to use lots and lots of sugar or pectins or so on and so forth. So what we're going to do, and since I have a nice handy timer here, is you're going to sit and let this cook for about a minute. Now you do kind of want it at this bubbling stage. You can see if I stop stirring it starts to bubble. So you do want it at that stage, because what that's going to do is that's going to crack open the coating on those seeds so that all of the fun gelatinous-y goodness can come out. So stir. You're going to do this for about a minute, and I'm going to waffle on to you for about a minute because, hey, it's loads of fun. So yeah, so you do that for roughly a minute, and then once that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the heat, and we're going to let it sit and cool to room temperature. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow all those freshly opened seeds to soak up all of the fluid that they've just come into contact with. And you can see already it's even starting to thicken a little bit. It's no longer quite as soupy. But leave that to sit for about 10 minutes until it reaches room temperature. And then you will come back and we should hopefully find something that's nice and gooey and gel-like. Okay? So, we will leave that now, because that's been cooking for about a minute. And we will leave that for 10 minutes and come back and check it in just a bit. Okay, and that's us about 10 minutes later. As you can see, it has thickened up quite a bit. I don't know, it's still not quite the consistency I would like, and you will very quickly figure out why I love this recipe so much, because it is so easy to adjust. So if your jam has come out thick, but just, not quite as thick as you would like, you know what you do? You put it back on the heat to warm it back up, and you add more seeds. It really is that simple. So just grab my seeds here. Ta-da! Now don't go whole hog on this. You don't want to end up with, eating nothing but, gel. Because, at that point you may as well just go into the cabinet and get your hair gel out and start licking that. Ugh. So, I'm going to add maybe about another half a tablespoon, which is only 1.5 teaspoons. So, I'm going to throw those in there. Let that cook up nice and happy. And they shouldn't have any effect on the flavor whatsoever, because the seeds themselves don't really produce a flavor. They're just there as a gelling agent. They don't really have much flavor of their own. So we will stir those in, get that back up to heat, cook them for another, minute just to, again, warm them up. And then we'll see what it's like in another 10 minutes. Okay, and we're back, and I just wanted to show you, this is kind of the consistency, this is the moment I was waiting for. I really hope this comes into focus. Silly camera, why are you not focusing? Anywho, so basically what I was waiting for is, you see how it's starting to pull away from the edges and pull together into this nice gelatinous ball? Okay, for me, that's a good sign, because that means we're really starting to gel together, we're really starting to come to something that you could, spread with your spoon or with your knife if need be. That's not going to go running everywhere. So then what we're going to do is we need to put it in a jar. Enter the leftover jar. Okay, could be honey jar, leftover jam jar, whatever. So long as it's big enough that you're going to be able to hold the jam you've just made. So take into account how much you've made. I started with 225 grams of raspberries, so that's about half a pound. So I've definitely got a jar that should be big enough to hold what I've just made. So rather than bore you with the tediousness of watching me do this, well, you're going to watch me do it anyway, because what I'm going to explain is details of how long you can keep this. So this jam should be good in a container that's, relatively sealed and kept in the refrigerator for about 2 weeks. Okay, that's how long that should last, which is totally awesome, because if you've got any amount of jam eaters in your household, you will definitely go through this tasty stuff in a matter of a couple of weeks. Okay, so if you're one of those people who's going, but wait, I actually like preserving, I actually like storing things for months and months so that I can have, lovely fresh tasting stuff in the middle of winter. A, that's awesome, and I commend you for having far more patience than I do. B, if you're wondering if you can do it with this jam, yes you can. A friend of mine and I experimented a few weeks ago. He is much more into the whole jarring and canning thing that I am, bless him, so he tends to do a few things for me. But we were experimenting with this jam to see if you could preserve it and if it would alter the flavor or give you any sort of weirdness, and it didn't. I had mine on the shelf for probably a month before I needed to crack it open because I ran out of deliciousness. But it was fine. It was fine after a month. So I can make no guarantees as to how long it will last. All I can say is that we did successfully jar it using the traditional methods of boiling the jars and heating the lids and then putting the lids on and forming that nice lovely seal. Okay, right, so that is my jam in my jar. Okay, so I'm gonna put my lid on it and I'm gonna let it sit here and cool a little bit longer, just until it's safe to put in the fridge. And what it'll do is it'll continue to thicken as it cools down, so it'll just get thicker and thicker. And I'll be sure and try and let you guys have a look at it after it's been refrigerated, so you can see what kind of consistency it comes out as. And since I've been touting all the health benefits of this, you're probably wondering exactly how much carbs are in this. So this has given us probably about, what, 200-ish grams of jam, 225 grams of jam. Let's compare it to the bulk standard stuff you get off the shelf. Okay, not gonna lie, it's not the greatest stuff, but in a pinch when you need something sugary to throw into your yogurt, it's tasty. But you will notice that this stuff has, let's see, per 15 grams, 7.4 grams of sugar. So it is half sugar, right? Okay. Per 100 grams, that's 60.2 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, and this is just standard jam. This is nothing terribly unusual. This is just a mixed fruit jam from Asda. So that's 60.2 grams per 100 grams. So if we were looking at roughly the same volume, which they're pretty close now, this would probably have about 120-ish grams of sugar, 120 plus grams of carbohydrates in this. Yep, most of which being sugar. Now, I will admit, most of the stuff that's in here is sugar as well. Most of the carbs in this are sugar. But you want to know how much is in this relatively equal volume of jam? 45. Yeah. 120 some, 45.
So, per tablespoon, you have probably a third of the carbs in this that you do in this. And that's only because I put sugar in it. The sugar itself accounted for 30 of those grams, okay? 30. The other remaining 10 to 15 came from the fruit and the seeds. That's it. So if you wanted really, really low, don't even put any sugar in it. Just have the fruit in the jam, and you're looking at negligible per tablespoon carbohydrates. Okay? So that is how you make some lovely chia seed jam. You can see it's, look at that. Look at that. Look how thick that is. That's not going to be running off your toast. That's some nice thick stuff. So we'll put that in the fridge once I'm sure that the glass isn't going to go in the fridge. And then we will take a look at it in a little while. Okay?
And we're back. Our jam has been sitting in the fridge for about an hour now. And as you can see, when I tip it to the side, that is going to be some nice, thick jam. None of that soupy nonsense. So, there you go. That is how to make some chia seed jam. Super easy. Grand total took me about, 30 minutes? And it will take about the same amount of time, even if you're using a larger volume. So for those of you who are hoping to control your carbs but don't want to give up your jam, I would say give it a go. Okay? Have fun. Bye.